So dear students, in this lecture, we are going to take the story of Portuguese colonization further. So now we are going to study how the Portuguese colonies were established. I mean how the Portuguese administration was established. So let me tell you something. The Portuguese establishment in India was given the official name Estado da India. Estado means state. Da is the you can say connector or word used for of. So state of India. So this is a Portuguese phrase, state of India. So by now you have seen that people like Vasco da Gama, Pedro Cabral, so they used to come here, but they were not rulers. They had come here to establish factories, though they fought a small, a few battles, but most of it was related to establishing factories and all that stuff. But slowly and gradually, the Portuguese mindset changed. They had come here for trading, but they soon realized that why not become the owners? Why to buy? Why not capture? So this was their mindset. So now let us see how did that happen? How did merchants turn into colonizers? So all this began with Alfonso Albuquerque's first visit in 1503. How did this begin? So in 1503, that means Vasco da Gama has again returned back. So King Manuel sent a naval commander. So see, he is the first proper naval commander. No more merchants. Now commanders are coming to India. So naval commander Alfonso Albuquerque came to India. Later on, see, now he is coming just in the capacity of commander. 6 years later, he will become the Governor General of Portuguese state of India, which is known as Estado de India. So he is the first military governor. So by sending military governor, the Portuguese king have made it very clear that now we are going to attempt to capture India. We have to capture. That's why naval commander is sent. So Alfonso Albuquerque started looking for allies other than Calicut because they were already at war with Calicut. So they were fighting war with Calicut for the last 2 to 3 years. Now they wanted some local Indian rulers as their friends. So Alfonso fought several naval wars with Jamorin. Jamorin means the king of Calicut. So Calicut, also known as Calicut, but today it is known as Kozhikode. And so Alfonso fought several naval wars with Jamorin and helped the king of Cochin. So Cochin was the neighboring kingdom of Calicut. Cochin was located in Kannanur kingdom. We have already discussed all these things. You can refer to the previous videos. So Jamorin was the king of Calicut. His neighbor was Cochin, king of Cochin. So Jamorin and king of Cochin were also enemies of each other. So enemy of an enemy becomes your friend. So Albuquerque had come here looking for friends. So he found that Cochin, king of Cochin, is the enemy of Jamorin. So he made him his friend and helped the king of Cochin to secure his throne. Secure his throne means what? He provided him security measures against the attacks of Jamorin. In return, king of Cochin allowed the Portuguese to establish the first fort in India. See, establishing a factory is something else. Establishing a fort is something else altogether. Why do you establish a factory? You establish a factory because you have to do business. You have to make products. You have to sell products. Why do you establish forts? You establish forts because you want your soldiers to stay in that fort. You want to store ammunition. You want to store guns, weapons. So by building a fort, they were starting their preparation. The preparation to capture territories of India had started. So where was the first fort, Portuguese fort built? It was built in Cochin. Where was the first factory built? That was in Calicut. So this fort, you can see, this is the fort. This is how it looks today. This is Portuguese gun. This fort built at Cochin, which is known as Kochi, Kozhikode. Sorry, Kochi was, Kozhikode is Calicut, Kochi is Cochin. So this fort was named after King Manuel. King Manuel was the king of Portugal. So Portuguese people have established this fort. So they are naming this fort after their own king. So fort is established. Naval commander has established the fort. Now naval commander goes back. Now they have begun to rule India. Fort is established. Now the Portuguese king will send the first Portuguese governor to India. He says that now you go to India and start ruling. Now we are the rulers. So in 1505 AD, King of Portugal sent Francisco de Almeida as the first Portuguese governor of India. So now Portuguese will rule India. He is the first governor. Who? Francisco de Almeida. So Francisco was given the task to build 4 forts. You are building forts means you are slowly capturing India. So built 4 forts at Anje Diva Island. So Anje Diva Island is what later on became Goa. So suppose if this is Goa of today, here was this island. So they did not first of all capture Goa. They first of all captured a small island located offshore Goa. That was Anje Diva Island, Cochin, Kannur and Kollam. So they are building forts here because they are already at war with Calicut. So they have no entry in Calicut. Francisco captured important port towns of Malacca. See, these Portuguese people had not come here only to stay in Calicut and enjoy sunshine in Goa. They had come here to capture East India. Their company name is East Indies. That means not only India, but all the other countries located east of it. So if this is India, then here is Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia. So now these Portuguese people, they have already started living in India. So from here, they started their journey towards Malaysia, Indonesia, these kind of countries. So Francisco de Almeida started doing this. That means from India, they now start going to Indonesia, Malaysia. So Francisco captured important towns of Malacca, Aden. Aden is in Yemen, and Hormuz. Why is he doing all this? Because he does not like the Arabian people, Arabian merchants. So Arabian merchant used to come using these 2 ports. So he now captures those ports as well. So here is, if this is India, so if this is India, here is Iran. So now see, this is Calicut. So from here, using the ocean, these Portuguese ships captured all these territories, Indian Ocean. So if you are capturing Indian Ocean, you will also get to capture the port cities. Port of Aden, Port of Hormuz. Now, Jamorin is very much worried because his enemy Portuguese are gaining power. They are becoming more and more powerful. So what will Jamorin do now? So Jamorin becomes friend with ruler of Gujarat, Mamluk Sultan of Egypt, and Turkish Ottoman. Why? Because look at these Portuguese people. They have now started going that way. They have now started capturing Arabian territories. So if you start Arabian territories, will they keep quiet? No. That's why even Egypt, Sultan of Egypt and Turkish Ottoman Empire, they also made an alliance. So 4 powers came together. King of Calicut, ruler of Gujarat, Sultan of Egypt, and Turkish Sultan of Ottoman Empire. So all these 4 came together and they said that let's tackle the threat of these Portuguese people in opposing the Portuguese Armada. What is the meaning of this Armada? Armada basically means fleet of ships. Fleet of ships. So Portuguese Armada. These 2 forces, which 2 forces? These 4 powers were on one side and on the other side was Portuguese. So these 2 forces came face to face in 1508 in what is known as Battle of Diu. Diu is located offshore the coast of Gujarat. So this battle is taking place in Indian Ocean. Here they are fighting. Francisco lost his son. The governor loses his son. So it is such a big shame for Portuguese people that the son of governor is killed. So Francisco lost his son but was able to destroy the combined forces of Islamic countries and India an year later. That means initially Portuguese suffered some setback. You can see his son was also killed, but within a year, he managed to defeat all these four friends. So Francisco de Almeida have started capturing oceans, the water. This was started by Francisco de Almeida. So Francisco de Almeida propounded the blue water policy, which is also known as Carthage policy. So his you can say philosophy was, if you capture all these oceans, then your enemies will not be able to reach you. See, this is ocean, you are living on land. So you capture these oceans, and he used to keep his fleets here. So what do these fleets used to do? Whenever some ships from other countries used to come, they used to check their licenses. So that was Carthage policy. So if you want to enter these territories, Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal, you have to pay money to the Portuguese people. You have to take license from them. Only then can you enter the waters. So this is what is known as blue water policy, also known as Carthage policy. Who gave this policy, or who was the founder of this policy? The first Portuguese governor, Mr. Francisco de Almeida. So now let's see what happened after this. So blue water policy is established. Portuguese have managed to capture the Indian Ocean and Bay of Bengal. What happened after that? So you remember this naval commander Alfonso Albuquerque. So now he is sent for the second time to visit India. In 1509 AD, Francisco was replaced by Alfonso de Albuquerque. So as the next governor, so he becomes the second governor of Portuguese territories of India. So Alfonso, he was a naval commander, you have to remember this. So what did he do on his first visit? On his first visit, he had established forts. So now he has come back to India, and now he became the governor. He got promotion. Alfonso tightened the grip over Malabar coast. What is the meaning of Malabar coast? So India has a long coastline. So this side, eastern side, is known as Malabar coast. So this is Malabar coast. Roughly speaking, Kerala, coast of Kerala is basically known as Malabar coast, some part of Karnataka. So this is Malabar coast. The other coast is Coromandel coast. Coromandel coast. So these are the local name of two coasts of India. So Alfonso tightened the grip on Malabar coast, that means on the side of Kerala, and also took major shipbuilding factories under his control. Why did he took major shipbuilding factories under his control? Because he thought that if I will control these factories, how will my enemies get ships made? Ships are made in huge factories. So he now captures those factories, thereby denying access of good quality ships to his rivals. Alfonso acquired Goa from Sultan of Bijapur. Till now, whatever they were doing was more or less located in Kerala. Now, their attention shifts to Goa. Now, please remember, Vasco da Gama had already visited Goa on his first visit. So, he was already aware that Goa is a good place where we can settle. Why it is a good place? Because it is located on the coast of the ocean. They are traders. They have ships. They cannot settle in Patna, they cannot settle in Delhi. They have to settle near the ocean. So Alfonso acquired Goa. This time he properly acquires Goa from the Sultan of Bijapur. Acquiring means what? He fought it, he captured it, and he signed a peace treaty. He signed a peace treaty and he told the Sultan of Bijapur that we are not going to capture Bijapur, just give Goa to us. And Sultan of Bijapur gave Goa to the Portuguese people in 15010 AD. Fine. So thus Goa became the first piece of Indian territory to be occupied by the Europeans. Till now, these Portuguese people, they have not occupied anything. They were simply opening factories, they were building forts. They cannot say that we are the masters of some territory. It is the first time that they properly sign a treaty, and this treaty says that this land of Goa belongs to you. So you can say Goa was the first piece of Indian territory to be occupied by the Europeans. Fine. First territory. And incidentally, Goa was also the last to be freed from foreign control in 1961. So you must understand this. British left India in 1947. Even after this, till 1961, Goa was under the control of Portuguese. Goa was liberated in 1961. You have to remember this. When India got freedom, Goa was still under Portuguese control. That's why it is said that Goa was the last to be freed from foreign control. And Goa was freed in 1961 after a major police action. So Alfonso encouraged marriage between his men and local people, built several canals and roads. So now Portuguese have fully made up their mind that they are going to stay in India. They are Portuguese, so they need to mingle with local population. They need to mingle, make friend with local population. So this new governor general, sorry, he was just the governor, not general. So Alfonso encouraged marriage between his men and local ladies. He built several canals and roads. Why? Because they have now acquired territory. So now they are building things on their own land. Alfonso also introduced the plantation of new kind of crops, new crops, which were not known to Indian population, like cashew nuts and tobacco. Cashew nut, in Hindi it is called kaju. Tobacco is tambaku. I mean, they brought something bad to India. So tobacco, you know how harmful that is. So Alfonso also banned the practice of sati or widow self-immolation. So now he was the governor. He has to rule. So now he is making decisions. He is making administrative decisions. He is not here only to fight. He has to govern also. So he told the citizens located within the Portuguese territory that from today onwards, sati is banned. What was sati? The practice of sati was very derogatory for the females of that time, because the practice of sati meant that when your husband died, the wife or the widow will also commit suicide by jumping into the funeral fire of her husband. So all this was stopped by Alfonso. What does this mean? It means slowly and gradually, from merchants, from fighters, now they are turning into a government. Now government is getting formed. Now Vasco da Gama comes to India for the third time. So in 1524, Vasco da Gama came to India for the third time, as he was appointed the Viceroy of India. Bigger post than governor. He is made the Viceroy of entire India because he was the first person to come to India. So just as an honor. But Vasco soon fell ill and died in 1524 in Cochin. So it is interesting to note that Vasco da Gama died in India only, though he was a Portuguese. So what happened after the death of Vasco da Gama? A new governor, Nino da Cunha. Da means of. So this is the style of writing of Portuguese. Something, something, da something. So Nino is the name of person, Cunha is the name of place. So new governor has come. His name was Nino da Cunha. So Nino shifted the Portuguese headquarters from Cochin to Goa because Cochin was not their territory, whereas they have occupied Goa. They have bought Goa from the Sultan of Bijapur. So they went back, they shifted to their new home. New home is Goa. Cochin was their rented home, you can say. He immediately set on the task of expanding Portuguese control in Gujarat, because Goa was more nearer to Gujarat as compared to Calicut or Cochin. Here is Goa, here is Calicut. So now Portuguese also starts looking for opportunity to control Gujarat, because they have already defeated the Sultan of Gujarat once. Where have they defeated? In Battle of Diu. You remember Battle of Diu 1508? So they now have plans of controlling Gujarat, which was then ruled by Bahadur Shah. Bahadur Shah. Please remember that Mughals have come to India in 1526. So all these regions, Gujarat, Calicut, Cochin, they were not under the control of the Mughals. Now Mughals will get involved. So Portuguese control in Gujarat, which was then ruled by Bahadur Shah. So that he was a local ruler. He was known as Sultan Bahadur Shah. So to do that, to capture Gujarat, Nino da Cunha starts his activities. What activities? Nino managed to capture Daman and Diu. So Daman and Diu, if this is Gujarat, so two territories located very near to Gujarat, Daman and Diu. In 1534, Bahadur Shah of Gujarat. Who is Bahadur Shah? He is the Sultan of Gujarat, King of Gujarat. Came into conflict with the Mughal ruler Humayun. Now comes the mention of Mughal, because Mughals were not there earlier. They have come to India in 1526 and they established after winning first Battle of Panipat. That time it was only known as Battle of Panipat, not first, second or third. Who knew that how many battles are going to? Anyways, so in 1534, what happened? The Sultan of Gujarat was fighting against Humayun. Humayun is the second Mughal emperor. So now Sultan of Gujarat needs support because Humayun was more powerful than him. So this Sultan of Gujarat, he started running towards South India. This is Gujarat. This is Agra and Delhi, from where Mughals are attacking him. So Sultan of Gujarat, to save his life, he started running towards South India. So if you run towards South India, you enter into the territories of the Portuguese people. So in a way you can say he took shelter. He took shelter in the territories of the Portuguese. So Bahadur Shah asked Portuguese for help and refuge. That means give me some shelter. In return, Bahadur Shah signed the Treaty of Vasai. Vasai or Treaty of Vasai. If you are familiar with Mumbai, you know that Vasai is a locality of Mumbai. So that time Mumbai was part of Gujarat. Forget that time. Even during the times of Britishers, even at the time of independence, when India gained independence, Bombay was still part of Gujarat only. So Bahadur Shah was the owner of Mumbai. So what did Bahadur Shah did? He said that Portuguese, please help me. In return, I am giving you the lands of Vasai and Mumbai suburbs. You just save my life. Take these two territories because Humayun wants to kill me. So now Mumbai and Goa are under the control of Portuguese. Goa they have acquired from Bijapur, Sultan of Bijapur. Mumbai they got from Sultan of Gujarat, Sultan Bahadur Shah. So slowly and gradually they are gaining territories. In 1537, the Portuguese called Bahadur Shah aboard a ship for negotiation. So Bahadur Shah was a weak ruler. He had asked Portuguese people for help. So what Portuguese did? One day they called the Sultan that please we have to talk to you. You come on our ship. So Sultan went on their ship. They were having a meeting and during that meeting, argument broke out. That means Sultan did not agree with the Portuguese. So what did the Portuguese people did? They threw. Sultan was thrown off the ship and was killed. That way, the ruler of Gujarat was killed, or the Sultan of Gujarat was killed by the Portuguese people. So now you can say their influence have also reached Gujarat, because they have killed the Sultan only. But that did not mean that they managed to capture Gujarat, because Humayun was a bigger force. So it does not mean that if you kill the Sultan of Gujarat, you become the owner of Gujarat. The owner of Gujarat is Humayun. You have just killed the king. Now, up till now, we have studied the history of Portuguese expansion on Malabar coast. I mean, this side of India. Kerala, Gujarat, Goa, this side. Now let us understand how did these Portuguese people reach the other coast, other side of India. So let's now understand the history of Portuguese expansion on eastern coast. So let's see. The Portuguese had to fight many battles to settle on Malabar coast. So you have seen by now that settling on this coast was not easy. They have to fight, they have to bombard Calicut, they have to fight with Egypt, they have to fight with Ottoman just to establish themselves here. But their spread on the eastern coast of India was not the result of any military endeavor. But they did not require military support to settle on the other side, other coast. Why? Because, you see, when Portuguese people have already established themselves, so they started, they were now government, they were now behaving like a government. So they have laid down certain restriction on their own people, because when at this time, almost 5,000 Portuguese people were living in Goa, even more than that. So now you have a Portuguese government who is laying some certain restrictions were like, you cannot marry him, you cannot go there, you cannot buy this, you cannot sell this. So these Portuguese soldiers, fed up with the trade restriction and other atrocious policies, example, you cannot marry a Muslim because they are fighting with Muslim people. So these kind of policies were there, which Portuguese government was restricting their own citizens, Portuguese people who had come from Portugal. So fed up with all these, the Portuguese soldiers left the army, married local women, and to escape the clutches of their former masters. That means the soldiers who were Portuguese by birth, they said that enough is enough. We don't want to fight anymore. We don't want your stupid rules. So they started marrying local women and they ran away from this coast to the other coast. Why? Because here they were under the control of their government, Portuguese government. So they shifted to the other coast so that they can live peacefully, to escape the clutches of their former masters. And that's why they started moving towards the eastern coast. So by 1522, these Portuguese migrants started a settlement at Sao Tome de Meliapur. So now they have reached this coast of India. So the first place where they settled was near Madras. So this is how these big cities have come up. Why is Madras a big city? Why is Delhi a big city? So there is a history behind it. So they chose this place, Madras. By 1522, the first place on eastern side was Madras. So almost at the same time, the Portuguese came up with another settlement at Nagapattinam in Tamil Nadu. So slowly and gradually, they are settling themselves. They are not fighting there. They are not buying territories, but they are simply settling there in somebody else's land. So two properties, one at Madras, the other at Nagapattinam, both are in Tamil Nadu. So by 1540, Nagapattinam was developed as a major port. So Even Madras is a port. They are always settling at places which are near to ocean, which are next to ocean coast. So Nagapattinam became their major coast on the eastern side. So now Portuguese have already reached here. Now if they go further, they will reach Bengal. Now let's see how did they reach Bengal. The first Portuguese expedition in Bengal landed in Chittagong. So Chittagong is today in Bangladesh. Today it is in Bangladesh, but during those time it was part of India or part of Bengal. So the first Portuguese expedition in Bengal landed in Chittagong in 1517. So this port was called as Porto Grande. This question have been asked once. So which port did the Portuguese name as Porto Grande? Porto Grande in Portuguese language means the great port. Porto means port, Grande means grand or great. So which port? Port of Chittagong. Don't say that port of Calcutta or port of Calicut or port of Goa. No, Chittagong. The Portuguese now began to visit the Bengal province annually to carry out merchandise trade. So when they reached Chittagong, so this is India, this is Bangladesh, this is Chittagong. So once they reached Chittagong, they realized, oh, this is a very big port. Big port means ships are coming here, ships are going from there. They are living here, they are living here. So from 1517 onwards, every year they used to take their ships. And this Chittagong and Bengal, they were famous for exporting rice, silk, and something more. Gunpowder was found here. The raw material for gunpowder, which is known as saltpeter, is found in saltpetre, to be precise, was found during those times in Bengal. The Sultan of Bengal gave them the permission to settle at Satgaon. Satgaon is very near to modern day Calcutta. So this is how now they will become settlers in Bengal. See, they are not fighting there. They are not buying land, but they have took permission. The Sultan of Bengal gave them the permission that you can settle at Satgaon. And Satgaon was also a port. And it was a port located on the banks of river Hooghly. So later on, Satgaon lost its prominence, and the Portuguese founded a brand new city of Hooghly, very near to the Satgaon in 1537. So they had got permission to settle at Satgaon. Satgaon was a port, but Satgaon was used by some other people as well. So they wanted a port exclusively for themselves. They wanted that only we should be the master of that port. So because of this thinking, they started their own port city. That port city is known as Hooghly. Why? Because it is located on the bank of river Hooghly. So Hooghly is a river as well as a city. So river flows. So basically Ganga is known as Hooghly there. So Hooghly is also a river, and a town located on river Hooghly is known as Hooghly. So this town is very near to Calcutta. The Portuguese used Hooghly. So now they have a port which is used only by them. They are the masters of that port. They do not allow anybody else to use that port. So what were they doing from this port? The Portuguese used Hooghly to launch pirate attacks on ships sailing in Bay of Bengal. These Portuguese people, they were very infamous. They used to capture ships. What do you understand what is meant by pirate? You can say they were the sea or ocean, what can you say, dacoits. So pirate means you are traveling on a ship, you see that other ship is coming, so you attack and capture that ship and you loot everything. So these Portuguese were using Hooghly to not for business but for doing pirate attack on ships sailing in Bay of Bengal. Now let us also understand about the religious policies of the Portuguese. The Portuguese people were involved in conflict with the Muslim world, we have already seen. in Europe and Africa, and this rivalry prompted the Portuguese to start a policy of religious persecution of Muslims. So since they were enemies with Muslims in Europe, so they brought the same enmity to India also, because in India also a huge population was Muslim. Soon after acquiring Goa, the Portuguese stepped up their policy of forced conversion of Christianity. So today Goa, if you go to Goa, there is a huge Christian population. How did this population come to Goa? Because these Portuguese people, they have started their policy of forced conversion. That means people were forced to accept their own religion, Portuguese religion, the religions Portuguese had brought, which was Christianity. Hindus were also not spared. So basically their target were Muslims, but that does not mean that Hindus were left out. So even Hindus were given bad treatment. Now this fact you have to remember. Jesuit Saint Francis Xavier. What is meant by Jesuit? The one who worship Lord Jesus. I mean hardcore Christian. So Jesuit Saint Francis Xavier came to India in 1544 and accelerated the missionary activities. Today there is a big church dedicated to Saint Francis Xavier in Goa. Now you already know that when Portuguese have landed in India, Mughals were not present, because Portuguese came in 1498 itself. So Portuguese had come in 1498 itself. Mughals came some 30 years later in 1526. So question may be asked, who were ruling from Delhi? Who were the rulers of North India when Portuguese had come to India? You have to remember Lodhi dynasty. Lodhi dynasty, the dynasty just before the Mughals. So now let us see what happened when Mughals came to settle in India. When Mughals started living in India, then how was the relations of Portuguese with these Mughals? The first Mughal emperor, Babur. So Portuguese and Babur never came face to face. So Babur ruled India only for 4 years. In those 4 years, he was busy in North India and Bengal. North India and Bengal. So he never got the opportunity to really get involved in Portuguese politics. Though Portuguese had no direct rivalry with Jahangir, but his enemy, Bahadur Shah, the Sultan of Gujarat, was given protection by the Portuguese. That's why Jahangir did not like Portuguese throughout his life, because they had given protection to his enemy, Sultan of Gujarat, Bahadur Shah. So this Bahadur Shah was later on killed by the Portuguese, you remember. So Bahadur Shah gave the territory of Basai and Diu. Basai means Vasai, Mumbai. That is how Mumbai went into the hand of Portugals. Saint Francis Xavier, who had come to India in 1544, Saint Francis Xavier, the Jesuit missionary, had gained popularity, but he died in 1552. So his name had already become famous all over India, because he was a religious figure. He was well respected religious figure. So when Akbar became the emperor, when did Akbar become the emperor? He became the emperor in 1556 AD. So when Akbar became the emperor, he had the habit of conducting assemblies of religious preachers of various religions. You know, he established his own religion known as Deen-e-Ilahi. So before establishing his own religion, he used to discuss religious philosophies with people belonging to various religions. So now there is a new religion in India, which is Christianity. So what does Akbar do? So in 1580, Akbar invites 2 fathers of Jesuit Church of Goa. Goa was totally under control of Portuguese. So he wants to understand what is Christianity, what are the beliefs of Christianity. So Akbar sends message to Goa that please send me some religious teachers. So 2 fathers were sent to Fatehpur Sikri. Fatehpur Sikri was the capital. Akbar was living here. Akbar's palace was there. The Portuguese were hopeful that they would convert Akbar to Christianity, because they were already busy in converting people from other religions to Christianity. So now they got invitation from Akbar. So they thought that this is a good opportunity. We can convert Akbar to Christianity. But all their hopes were belied. But this did not happen. We know that Akbar never became a Christian. He found out his own religion. In 1595, when Akbar was staying in Lahore, the Portuguese priests gave him a visit. So these priests used to visit Akbar again and again frequently. They had good terms. So when Akbar was staying in Lahore, you have to remember this, that for 15 years, the Mughals have shifted their capital from Agra to Lahore. For 15 years, Akbar was staying in Lahore. So in 1595, when Akbar was staying in Lahore, the Portuguese priests gave him a visit and obtained a permission to build a church in Lahore. So question is, which European power had built a church in Lahore by taking permission from Akbar? It is Portuguese. It is not British. It is not French, but Portuguese. What happened after Akbar? How were the relations of Mughal? Akbar's son Jahangir also continued to show same respect towards the Portuguese priest, though he had, to show himself as a true Muslim. Initially, he had banned the entry of these Portuguese priests, but later on he allowed them. But arrogant actions on the part of Portuguese viceroys created a rift with the Mughal emperor. Very soon you will see now they are having good relation. But because of their certain activities, certain decisions taken by the Portuguese people, their relations with the Mughal will become sour. We will see that later on. That what went wrong between the relationship of Portuguese and the Mughals. So we'll see that. So till now, everything is going fine for the Portuguese. They have also settled in Bengal. They have also settled in places like Madras, Nagapattinam. So now, let us understand that what went wrong. As we know today, the Portuguese could not become what British became. British got to rule over almost the entire country. But why didn't Portuguese get the same opportunity? What went wrong? So now let us understand the story of the downfall of the Portuguese Estado da India. Estado da India means Portuguese State of India. This is what it was officially called in the papers, governmental papers of that time. Now, how did they lose their power? So arrival of British officer William Hawkins. So William Hawkins was the first British officer to reach India. So he reached India in 1608. He met Jahangir. So now Britishers have also arrived. Earlier there were only Portuguese. Now Britishers have come. And they are successful in meeting the Mughal emperor. So this meeting resulted in a change of fortune for the Estado da India. The British left a very good impression on the Mughal because, the major reason was that William Hawkins knew Turkish language. Jahangir also knew Turkish language. So they both used to talk in Turkish. They had almost become good friends. So the British left a very good impression on the Mughal and managed to get permissions to start factories at various locations. So I'm sorry, they knew Persian, not Turkish. So Jahangir knew Turkish as well, but William Hawkins and Jahangir, they used to converse in Persian. So now, and Persian was the court language of Mughals. So Mughal allowed them, or Mughal gave them the permission to start factories at various locations. So now Portuguese have some competition. Jahangir does not like them very much. Why? Because his enemy Bahadur Shah was given protection by them. Fine. So now British are giving competition to the Portuguese people. Arrival of British was a grave threat for the Portuguese. Story of their downfall has begun. The other problem, Portuguese had gained bad reputation because of their habit of piracy in Indian waters. They have started looting, capturing Indian ships. They crossed all limits. They crossed all limits of piracy when the Portuguese pirates hijacked the Mughal ship Rahimi, which belonged to Jahangir's mother. So remember, understand, Jahangir is the emperor of all India, and these fools, these Portuguese fools, they are capturing a ship which belongs to Jahangir's mother. So they captured the ship, and this ship was carrying thousands of passengers on Hajj to Makkah. The main problem was the Muslim rivalry, the Christian-Muslim rivalry. So this ship was going to Makkah. It belonged to Jahangir's mother, and these pirates, they captured it. They took this ship to Goa and burned it. So this ship was taken to Goa and it was burned. So it was a great insult for Jahangir. He was the emperor. So what will Jahangir do? He will obviously take revenge. So Jahangir retaliated by capturing the Portuguese settlement of Daman. So Daman was given to them by the Sultan of Gujarat. Sultan of Gujarat had given them all these territories. Now Jahangir takes back Daman. Daman will be taken back by Portuguese in 1559. But now, for now, Daman is gone from their hands. And hundreds were killed. Hundreds of Portuguese were killed. Churches at Agra were destroyed. You remember that Akbar had allowed them to build churches. Now all those churches were destroyed. So if you do not respect my religion, I will not respect your religion. So if you disturb people going on Hajj, I will destroy the church. Now this was happening during Jahangir's time. But what happened when Shah Jahan became the emperor? So during Shah Jahan's time, the Portuguese soldiers kidnapped 2 slave girls of Shah Jahan's wife. So Mumtaz Mahal was Shah Jahan's beloved wife. You know that Taj Mahal is built in her memory. So how much Shah Jahan loved Mumtaz Mahal, everyone knows. So what these Portuguese soldiers did, they kidnapped 2 slave girls of Mumtaz Mahal, of the empress. So Shah Jahan lost his temper. So Shah Jahan became very angry and he ordered the complete destruction of Estado de India. He said that, who are these people? I don't know. Go and kill them. Throw them out of country. I don't want to see them in India. So, but Shah Jahan was not the master of all India. He was the master of only Mughal territories. So Shah Jahan ensured that none of the Portuguese are allowed to stay in Bengal or in Delhi or in Agra or in Lahore. Entire Mughal territory was freed from these Portugals. So Mughal siege of Hooghly, because Shah Jahan have given the order that go and destroy these people. So what will Mughal forces do? They have to go and destroy them. So Mughal siege of Hooghly. You remember Hooghly? Hooghly was the port established by these Portuguese people in 1537. So now Mughal says that first we will attack Hooghly, because from Hooghly they are doing piracy. Hooghly was used as the base for pirates to hide their ships. So they attack Hooghly in 1632. Thousands of Europeans were killed. 400 were imprisoned at Agra, because Agra was the capital, and remaining fled away to Portugal. So that way Bengal was free from the Portuguese menace. So Shah Jahan ensured that I will not allow a single Portuguese to stay in my land. So all the Portuguese were thrown out. Bengal was free. So foolish Portugal, foolish decisions taken by Portugals are now hurting them. The Portuguese were now scared and diverted their attention towards colonizing Brazil and Malay. Malay means Malaysia, Indonesia, so Malay Peninsula, because they understood that now Shah Jahan is not going to let us live in peace. So they have shifted their attention. They said that now India is gone from our hand. So let's concentrate our attention. Let's focus our attention on our other territories. All these two territories were also, captured by Portuguese only. Now third force comes to India. English have already come. British, Hawkins have visited Jahangir. Now another European country has entered Indian territory, that is Dutch, Netherlands, gave fierce competition to the Portuguese and snatched away most of their properties by the mid 18th century. So if you ask me, there are, till now you have heard about three forces: English, Portuguese, and now Dutch. So it is actually Dutch who are fighting more with Portuguese. English are not fighting that much with Portuguese. So this line basically means that the snatching of territories from Portuguese hand was done majorly by Dutch, not by English, because English were busy in somewhere else, North India. Goa still remained with the Portuguese. Now you can see slowly, gradually, Portuguese people are losing everything that they had gained in India. But Goa, which they have rightfully bought from, they have bought Goa in 1510. They have declared Goa as their capital in 1530. You have to remember these two facts. Goa was acquired by them in 1510, and 20 years later, they declared Goa as the capital of Estado da India. So Goa still remained with the Portuguese, but had lost its importance as a trade port. Now it is noteworthy to remember that the Portuguese left India totally only after 1961, when Goa was liberated after a military action by Indian government. So you can say Portuguese came to India in 1498, they left India in 1961. Britishers left in 1947 only. So when India gained independence, Goa was not independent. Goa was still under Portuguese control. You have to remember this. So in this way, which European power came to India first? Portuguese were the first one to come to India, and they were also the last one to leave India. They left at last 1961. Before them, the Britishers have already left. So this is the story of Estado India, rise and fall of Portuguese empire, if you can call it, in India.